You are, of course, a veteran in this industry. You've been working on some of these issues and taking on some of these issues for a really long time. What do you make of the state of California taking on Activision, taking on a company like Riot Games in such a specific way?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the realities, I think, of having a state that really has always put the employee first. And that's a good thing. That's one of the many benefits of living in California. Sometimes the taxes don't make you feel so good, but certainly fairness and employee treatment has always been top of mind. So it doesn't surprise me at all that California has done that. I think that obviously as well, there is a pattern there, and there's enough of a frequency that they're trying to send a bit of a wake-up call. But the reality is these behaviors cut across many industries. I was new to the gaming industry about 6 years ago, and of course, there were some of these impressions or images that you had heard about the industry not being as welcoming. Now, I had a different experience. I found it to be very collegial and welcoming. I felt there was a lot of respect for my background and the way I've proven myself in different industries. But this is really about the fact that other industries and many companies all go through crisis. And as they do, there's a lot of lessons learned when you later look back. For me, I look at the companies, and in one case with Riot, you see a company that went from being very small and young to explosive growth. And when you grow that fast, you need to catch up with the right kind of governance and processes and the maturing that the company needs to do. And then with Activision, look, this has been a very successful company, well established for a long time, and company cultures shift and erode over time too. And that's where you've got to keep an eye on those weak signals.
Now, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick said in a statement, "It is imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way. I'm sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding." And the Me Too movement happened, here in the U.S. years ago. Gamergate was years before that. How much progress do you think the gaming industry has actually seen? Yes, this happens across all industries, but the gaming industry is really interesting in that you also have at the same time the demographics of the people playing these games. More women, more young girls playing these games, which is why it's so important to have a diverse culture when you look at the people who are making the games for this broader audience.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic, isn't it? Right? You'd say, hey, in the US, 55% of gamers are male, 45% female. Gaming is a place where everybody can be of equal footing in that virtual environment. So in some ways, it's very democratizing and liberating, regardless of your gender. But equally to what we do know is gaming has some toxicity built into it. And some of that comes from the anonymity a bit. I think when you look at the cultures of companies, it's a tough one. Super League has had a lot of growth. We're now, at 80, 90 people, very different than 5 years ago when there were about 8 of us, huddled in a corner of an office. So, as you get larger, you have to establish more, as I said, those mechanisms to identify these patterns that are happening in the culture. And look, when you're sitting at the top of the house, like at Activision, it's pretty hard to understand and look really deep down into the org and what the company is now becoming known for or how it feels to work there. Certainly it helps a lot if you just really first set the standard at the top. I know it's so cliche, but I really do think, the first question I'd be asking myself in their shoes is, does the leadership team and the next layer down of senior leaders and directors really embody and really passionately believe in this notion of a fair playing field? I do think that, again, while, gaming is democratized, well, so is food and music. And it's not to say that those other industries don't have cultures that sometimes go awry or processes that break down that prevent fairness for all employees. So it is ironic, but it is kind of just par for the course, unfortunately, as you try to establish a healthy work environment.
Meantime, I'm so curious, Anne, what you think about this crackdown on the gaming industry in China, where the Chinese government is saying children can only play video games 3 hours a week between 8 and 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We saw some impact on U.S. gaming markets here today, but what's your impression of how this could impact the broader industry?
Well, I think, my personal opinion, I think that they might be missing the bigger point. You know, we have a strong point of view in our company that gaming is good for you when it's done in the right context. Many of the things we were just talking about earlier about inclusive places that welcome diversity, but also the layers of strategy and critical thinking, things we've talked about before on your show. You know, it's about creating healthy environments where gamers are empowered to use tools to create cool games, to create compelling content, to share that content. And that's really always been at the heart of Super League, is this notion that instead of looking at a very small percent of the cases where gaming has negative consequences, let's rise up and let's create tools that actually allow gamers to really thrive and to grow in these really exceptional talents that they have.